Felix Ndahinda is a researcher and analyst. He joins us live from Tilburg in the Netherlands. Professor, thank you so much for your time. Just for anyone new to this conflict or new to the M23, exactly who are these rebels and what do they want?
I guess your timeline already gave part of the answer to that question. The M23 are a movement formed in the province of North Kivu, since there are other groups in other provinces. And for most of the time, they are descendants from exiles from the Tutsis, mostly who fled North Kivu, but also not an ethnic movement because much of the leadership is not even from the ethnic Tutsi community. So it's a mix of people who have ties or family ties to North Kivu, but also other political opponents who are basically fighting for a number of political claims, including the treatment of different communities in that region, but also the insecurity that has been raging for many years. But most importantly, it's a movement born out of discontent with the implementation of the accord signed between the government and the former CNDP, a movement of Laurent Nkunda.
Oh, senior producer Grace there was mentioning that there's a lot of discontent as well over the African Union's lack of involvement. What do you think their role is in this particular conflict?
Well, there is a lack of proper involvement by nearly all actors that have been involved in some given time or another in the Congolese conflict for many years now. Many actors have been involved, the global, but also the African Union and regional forces, sub-regional forces, East Africa before and then SADC later. But most of those forces really have failed to go into the depth of the historical issues that keep coming up in the different waves of conflict and addressing them in order to prevent recurrence. So the African Union has never really comprehensively intervened in that conflict at the organizational level. Only mostly sub-regional organizations have, like East African Community and the SADC forces now. At a given time, even there was involvement a few years back of the European Union, in fact, the European forces on the ground. All of those interventions over the years have really failed either to bring stability, to address issues of governance, of inclusive governance in that region, but most importantly also address the security concerns that are cross-boundary by nature. For example, the foreign fighters operating on Congolese soil who should be made not to fight on Congolese soil, under which they attract, of course, governments from the region in intervening to address threats.
How would you recommend this play out? I mean, do you think the African Union should play a greater role so as to prevent any further international intervention in African affairs?
Honestly, yes, but at the same time, I'm realistic. How much can the African Union do? I believe that if all countries really on the continent were to come together and agree on what the issues are, agree on a roadmap in consultation at the continental level, that can indeed probably avert disorganized interventions by very many different factions with different agendas in the Congo. So yes, there is a potential to work together towards trying to address the many successive things that have been committed to over the years. I was looking at last time, I think there have been a dozen of different peace agreements that have been signed that one can find, for example, on peacemaker.org. And all of those contain some of the issues that keep coming up in the different claims by different groups, not only M23. And I believe tackling the issue once for all requires a little bit going back in the depth of those documents in order to address the threats. And the African Union can play a role, but also global interveners can assist in one way or another, at least in channeling global, let's say, interventions together in a concerted way, in a comprehensive way, and in a holistic way to prevent always addressing small symptoms of conflict rather than really addressing the whole disease that ails the Congo for many years.
It sounds reasonable. We can only pray that it happens that way. Professor Ndahinda, really appreciate speaking with you. Thank you.
My pleasure.